Welcome to All About the Game podcast in association with Clinched. You can download our podcast on all platforms every Friday. Clinched is a sports app that helps link clubs with coaches. If you were a coach in rugby, soccer or GAA and you are ready for your next role or your first role, download and sign up to Clinched app for free today. Lunch ready, but you had to eat it at a certain time of the day. Like, I was thinking, this is like,
That's, look at.
I know, but lads, there is lads that
guy's an egot now. Whoever he is, he's an arm.
Doing the basics wrong. I was never thinking, I shouldn't have had that extra bit of butter on me, Sammy. You know, it's honest.
Yeah, it can, and
you're hard to get away on a greyhound, Johnny.
That's what I always say, Johnny.
Did you get a bit of gear? Scrape a bit of gear?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
He rubbed the gear, did he? He rubbed it.
No, that wasn't me.
Definitely.
I did, imagine me, it'd be like, it'd be
Was
well
it Flitter or was it Breyer?
Would you?
They're not going to get in trouble for it now.
Would you believe there was?
Right, we're back for week 4 of the All About the Game podcast, lads. It's good to be back. We've Shawnee back on board this week. Is it busy on the farm at the minute, Shawnee?
Yeah, it was very busy. It was very busy last week now. I completely forgot. Completely forgot. I seen the phone ring and I was like, oh Jesus.
Well, I forgave you. Podge gave you some ribbon, I have to say.
Yeah, I have to. I've been so busy I haven't listened to the last one, so I need to,
yeah. No,
jump back in.
Don't listen. Skip on about a minute and a half there and you'll be grand.
rightly so. I was roasted probably.
Oh, calving season at the minute, flat out.
Last two. There's one at it at the minute now. There's one sick there when I was coming out, so hopefully only one by the time I get back home.
Not so bad. I'd say you're a good man to pull a calf out.
Yeah, can manage it alright.
Yeah. Not so bad.
It's gas, Podge. You know, I talked to Sean about. I'm thinking, just to be cutting turf soon.
On the other side.
We're in the middle of the bog.
Well, just don't ask me for any favours. Not around. Good stuff. Big weekend of sport, anyways. I suppose only one place to start. A big day with the football yesterday. Starting Division 1, it was chaos. It was
mental.
Yeah, great, which was brilliant. Mayo were going up, they were going down. They were, what was your thoughts? I suppose are hard to follow everything, and probably coming from the Kildare match as well.
Yeah, I got home and in fairness to TG Cahir, they had unbelievable, like the way they have it all. There was permutations going left, right. I said some now I was on a laptop going absolutely mental.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's where this AI comes in that I'm not up to speed with. But yeah,
it's something that has been talked about, and Wooly would have talked about in the last 2 or 3 years, that almost your Gillette Soccer Saturday going around the grounds talking to the and they're probably getting on to RT, haven't done it, but Tina G done a very good job. And rather than trying to flick around on the phone and look on Twitter, like I know GA League tables is a very good updated table as well, but you were able to exactly see who was winning. Scores been shown from other grounds. As I said, Mayo were they were going up all of a sudden if they lost the game, and they would have went down. Like it was great, but Tina G allowed you to really.
It was nearly. I was sitting at home and the kids run in and out and who's winning. There was an atmosphere even looking at the telly. Felt, there was they painted a great picture, but it was just mental. Like to see, I don't know any team like Mayo. If it looks like if Darrow Boyle had stitched that penalty, they were relegated, and then all of a sudden then they topped the table on -1 point.
-1, yeah. Kevin McStay's great manager.
Yeah, great. Honest to God, he's the best manager ever now. And if they were beaten, they'd look to get rid of him. It's mad. It was just a mad day, but some brilliant games too, Podge. Like we saw the best of football, best of the new rules, some unbelievable scores right throughout all the divisions, and. It was, there's definitely something, and you mentioned there, Colin Parkinson is always on about, like, there's so many teams going yesterday with something to play for into the very last round, which
and it's
we
funny,
don't get in Championship.
No, and it's funny, even, especially with the new rules and the breeze makes such a difference. Like, tell you that the Kildare game yesterday, there was a lot of lads on WhatsApp, geez, Kildare 5 points down, where speaking about it before, we kind of said, Kildare always looked like when they got the breeze, but I think having that, if that was that kind of Gillette Soccer Saturday and you're going to the grounds, you might get more of a feel like, whatever, 5 points down, but they're a strong wind with them, as opposed to, the breeze is such a difference.
Oh,
the
it's
two
huge,
pointers,
huge. Yeah, we saw that in Newbridge, but it was evident nearly all over the country. There was obviously windy pitches all over the country because there was scores were just mental, and some unbelievable scores. As I said, during like some of the scores that were kicked in the Dublin Tyrone game were phenomenal. And you know the pressure it's on because like there's Tyrone now, an unbelievable performance yesterday. Relegated in 7 points. Like
I think it's the first ever team that was got the 7 points and got relegated. So it was, I suppose, for them probably thinking not a bad league, disappointed, but it just showed, you know, it was right down to the last second.
Is the standard gone up?
I think so. In terms of kicking, it's definitely kind of, you know, the stronger kicking teams with their 2 pointers are definitely benefiting anyway.
Yeah, I think definitely the pace of the game is going huge, and you'd notice it even. Well, I certainly did, even coming from the Kildare game and watching that Tyrone, the Division 1 game, like it was just there were difference in pace,
chalk and cheese,
and like that their ability to kick, and they're gone and, you know, it's all out attack in 2s and 3s, and it's very little ball, you know, the sort of that horseshoe of keep ball. It does still happen, but not nearly as much, you know.
Well, there's more
and then when if there's a free, just tap and go, or you can throw it to the lad beside you, he can tap and go, and you don't even hear the whistle nearly. The tap and goes and it's gone, you know. So it definitely speeds up the game. There's no doubt.
Yeah, no, it definitely looks more enjoyable watching. Your scores are gone up. You're looking at 45, 46 points a game. You're getting a lot less of that tip it to the corner back and slow build up, and which is it was hard to watch. And look, that's what they were trying to get rid of. So and you see, like, let's say the Kildare game yesterday, there was one Kevin Feely outstanding, Aaron Masters another outstanding catch, like just
Ben McCormick's as well.
Ben's as well, and even the keeper Keane Burke on his debut, one unbelievable kick out. I think it was Brian Burney hit on the run, but probably there's not as much as that, or you're not seeing that skill where it's nice to see it and see it being rewarded. You're away on a fast attack.
It's a lot. Like at the end of the day, one of the briefs that the FRC got was to make Gaelic football one of the best, most enjoyable games to look at in the world, and that was their main brief, and they've certainly improved it. While there's some ways to go, but I certainly think to look at games now, and you know, the day of you being, well, you're 10 points down at half time, sure, it's game over, teams will just shut up shop. Them days are gone. So
there's always a chance. And look, I suppose the scenario definitely added to it. But it was just made it a lot easier to follow, and it was on TNG, but it was brilliant and just real.
I suppose
games.
The only downside of it was, you know, and we spoke about it here a couple of weeks ago, you know, when you see Donegal, you know, it's a national final, and nearly think they didn't want to be in it, because they're going to be out in 6 days' time again, which is crazy, like, which is absolutely crazy. And that's there's no doubt it's the best competition. The league is the best competition because everybody has something to play for right till the end, and then we really could do without winning this, you know, which is crazy.
And it probably happens in rugby, but would it ever be a case of, you know, obviously you might change up your team, but it's always gung-ho probably in every game, Sean, would it?
It is, to be fair, and the boys played the Bulls at the weekend, and that South Africa trip is always a very tricky one because it's the defining probably part of the season where you get seeded, and who you're going to play in the playoffs of the URC. And in previous years we've actually gone over there and needed to win, where this year, because we had won 12 on the trot, we don't need anything from either game. Although they got bet in the last kick of the game, that's the first loss. The younger team done unbelievably well over there at the weekend, but it does make a big difference when you go, you know, start the league, start the URC and go the whole way through and win as often as you can win, obviously, because now we're top seeded regardless of what happens.
Yes.
So
it helps in the long run.
It helps in the long run.
Yeah, it's a good habit to get into.
Yeah.
It's a very good habit to get into. It's also probably, sometimes I do think that some of the younger lads need to learn how to lose as well. Not that you want to lose.
I know. I did see the Cullen reference.
There's lots of learnings to be had there from the younger guys. Like, we had a scrum in the last play of the game, and they were already pushing, and we still put in the ball. So it was just the cuteness that they'd learned from South Africa. And to be fair, those South African teams at home, it's so hard to play them. Like, you're at altitude as well. Bulls, lads are blowing hard, and there was a load of HIAs in the first half. So there was a lot of mixing and matching done, and they still were in the game. You know, the last play of the game, Leinster were. with a lot of young lads. So it's great to see all those young lads actually stand up and be counted over there, because we went over there 2 years ago. Leo had gone back home. He left me there with the team to coach the second week, and we got bet by 60 points, I think. I said to him when I came back, I said, don't ever do that again. I said, you set me up to fail. And in a way, you actually are set up to fail. You know what I mean? Because you have such a young squad over there. You have no internationals. You have RG and Jordy Barrett were playing at the weekend, and a few of the, let's say, fringe players for the Irish team, but none of the international, the core group, and they won't be there obviously this week. And then you have RG and Jordy Barrett and probably a few of the other lads coming home this week, and the boys have to play the Sharks this weekend, who are also a very dangerous team. So they'll have to, front up again, and it's a tough all trip for the 2 weeks.
Yeah, but it's funny, like, to the outside world looking in, that people don't understand the whole concept around coaching and understanding, like, it is okay to lose in a certain manner, because there's a huge amount, like you take
to be gained
the weekend,
from it,
but they were there rightly, like they've done an awful lot right, and just fall short, which is. It can be as nearly as good as a win. Yeah, in so many ways.
Yeah, because those lads are kind of the majority of those lads would be their first time in South Africa, first time playing at altitude, first time kind of coming up against that physicality. Like they had the Bulls had all their Springbok players fully loaded. Like.
It's a daunting enough.
It's a daunting enough experience for some of them, So they'll get a huge amount of confidence out of that, regardless. I know the result. They'll be disappointed that they didn't win the game, but will take an awful lot out of it, and the players, those younger players, will take an awful lot out of it, and an awful lot of learnings. And the other thing is, sometimes you need those. I remember on my second cap for Ireland, we played South Africa in Croke Park, and I remember after that game saying to myself, "Mother of God," I said, "This is what you're going to need to be seriously physical to play at this level." Yeah. And it was one of those light bulb moments where you're saying to yourself, right, now I know what it's about.
Yeah, and just on that there, just when you mentioned playing at altitude, is it catching the breath? What, like, is it just so much warmer? Like, is it? Yeah, it's the humidity too, and to be fair, it was cool enough over there, the lads said during the week, but the actual day of the game was nice and it was a bit warm, like, but it's just getting that... getting oxygen into your lungs. You are blowing hard, like. And I remember the first year I went out there with Leinster, we were doing a bit of training. Some of the coaches were just straight after the boys had finished, just a few runs, like. And we done about 10 minutes, and I swear to God, I was down the ground. I felt like getting sick all over the place. You just cannot. Your lungs aren't working. Your body's adjusting.
So they went over 2 days earlier this year to try and help them with that, and probably did help them a little bit. There's not as much of a panic, but it's a tough all trip. So it is, and South African teams are obviously very good. So, but fair play to the lads that were in the game, and they'll take lots away from it.
And would they be straight on the flight home after the game? Would they stay the night?
They would have been the next morning probably. So Jacques and Tyler, our backs coach, they would have flew home the next day then with 2 or 3 of the players. And so we're all back in. Everyone's back in tomorrow. Those coaches and all the internationals are back in tomorrow. Yeah,
good to go again. And I suppose you're talking about Donegal. They're not. Jimmy Guinness definitely isn't saying let's go out and lose this game or take it handy, but it's probably having that 10 or 11 changes and look, everyone has their best 15. It's probably just reducing the risk of winning there nearly, and
Yeah, well, I suppose look at and he mightn't like me saying it, and we would have known Darrell Boyle from our days in Maynooth, but. He struck better penalties as well. I think the keeper was going the wrong way, and he got up off the ground, went back.
For any feedback, criticism, or topics you'd like to hear about,
it's hard to know. We
contact us on All About the Game podcast at
Clinch.ie. Jim McGuinness, he said he wanted to get as much game time into. That's what the league was for him. So, it's a hard one to know. We're only guessing, but certainly I didn't see any of the Donegal lads crying afterwards. They didn't make the league final.
Disappointed. And looking at Derry, it was the collapse there yesterday, and Armagh stuck 4 or 5 goals on them. Very hard for them now in 2 weeks to turn around and get themselves up for Donegal match.
Yeah, it is going to be really difficult. And like the Donegal curve is on the up. There's no doubt about it, and building on a great year from last year. But there's still a lot of quality in that Derry setup, and if we talk about the rugby boys maybe getting a bit of resilience, and their backs have been to the wall now an awful long. Obviously the whole saga around Rory Gallagher and stuff like that. So they'll feel that there's one big performance in them, and they still have they have a lot of quality players as well. So while they will have to be at their best, and maybe Donegal a little bit of an off day, but they'll still feel that they have something to contribute, and they'll give it one hell of a rattle.
Yeah, definitely so. Division 2, Monaghan and Roscommon went up anyways. They've a draw was enough to get them over the line, and they'll be glad to get back to Division 1. And then you're down in Westmeath going down, and just looking at Westmeath, I suppose, they're all guns blazing now for the Kildare game. Just having a look at different league tables today, like they're minus 19 from 6 losses. Like, it's averaging, they were very unlucky in games, averaging probably 3 points a game, a loss. Like, they'd be disappointed to get relegated to Division 3, but they weren't a million miles off a lot of the better teams in it.
No, they were not, and they still put up 119 yesterday against Roscommon, and Roscommon are a formidable side. I think going into, I'm not sure what way it finished, but they were the top scoring team in the country.
They took a draw, took a draw off Roscommon.
Yeah. They had no other team had scored as much as them, which is and they've lost a couple of players, like obviously John Heslin retiring.
Ronan O'Toole went away. I think
he's a massive loss for them. So but they do have quality, and they'll come to Newbridge, and it'll be 2 weeks from the league final. They'll be coming to Newbridge, and they'll fancy their chances.
Big time. I don't think it's as bad as the table looks for them.
No.
Actually, looking, they've kicked 162 points in Division 2. Kildare have actually kicked the exact same in Division 3, probably playing lesser quality, so they still have that scoring threat out front. Obviously, getting on to Division 3, you were in there yesterday. I was in myself, got the job done anyways, and as much as 14-9 down, I never thought they were going to lose.
No, I probably was a bit the same. I thought, in fairness to Antrim, they were good with their shooting for their kick six two-pointers.
Changed.
But I never felt that we were Kildare were going to lose that. I just felt even, the approach play, even with the win, I thought they were maybe Antrim were a bit one-dimensional, and they gave a really good account of themselves. Probably were needed. I think they needed Leitrim to win to beat Sligo for them to have, and they'd have to win to get at Novit. So it was an uphill battle, there's no doubt. And when especially in the second half, I thought they tired a good bit. They were carrying they had to carry every ball, and then when Kildare turned them over, they just had the pace. And when you're bringing in pace like Paddy McDermott and Ben McCormack and Dara Kerwin, they're fair cavalry to be arriving on the scene, and they show that bit of quality. It's
probably something, as you alluded to there, Antrim, they kicked a few lovely two-pointers, and I'm sure Kildare will look at that, maybe defending the arc a little bit higher. On the other side, I think Kildare came away maybe 2, max 3 two-pointers at the end of the game. I kind of find sometimes with their two-pointers, they're snapping at them, as opposed to maybe Antrim, when they struck them, were finding that little bit of space to compose themselves and get the shot away. Obviously it was a fair breeze, but you kind of need to work that. Sometimes you can be trying too hard to work the two-pointer, or for whatever reason, but we missed a good few two-pointers again.
Yeah,
and I don't think they kicked one against Offaly either.
No, they didn't. And I would have been a little bit critical, particularly near the end of the Offaly game. We needed scores, work it to the top of the league, get the shooters onto the ball, and we didn't seem to create that. But look, it's something I know the lads are working on, and is because the two-pointers are massive, and we got caught. Kildare got caught twice for having only 2 lads up. That's 4 points handed to the Antrim. So there are little things that they're going to have to, because you do that against Westmeath, and it could be the difference between winning and losing. You do it again Offaly next Sunday, and it could be the difference winning and losing. And the other thing, Paul, I don't know whether you noticed it was a couple of times. We just lacked that bit of a killer instinct. There was goals on a couple of times, and we tapped it over the bar. Now's the time to go for those, even if you missed them. Niall Kelly took one on.
Yeah, in fairness to him,
he took it on. Colin Dalton had one stage, tapped it over the bar.
Yeah, you'd love to see him go for the juggler.
Yeah, and he had options either side. That's where the good teams will just, to just go for it and take it on, make that extra pass. Yeah. But that'll come.
I know, and probably circumstances of the game, maybe. But I would agree. I would have liked to see them go for the juggler. And I said, it kind of comes down to that, game management, I was saying. And I'm sure Flanagan goes through a lot of things, but players have to, they're the ones on the pitch. And even at one stage, I think Dara Kerwin had come on and kicked a two-pointer, and he cleared the goals by about 20 metres. and then I think he put Kildare 6 up, and then they got another one straight in front of goals just outside the 45. Now there was no doubt he was after clearing it, and I think Alex Byrne took it short. They went short with it and ended up losing it, and Antrim came down on a goal chance. You're kind of thinking, Jesus, kick, like if he misses, he misses, and you're set up for their kick out and he's kicking it into the wind. Just small things, but look, I'm sure they go back through all these things.
Do teams have set plays to get into 2-point scoring opportunities, do they?
They would, like, you see them. You could hear a couple of calls, yes, they're trying to overload one side and you know, pull all, everyone to one side and get it back across then fairly quick. So you would see teams trying to, you know, get their kickers onto the ball in the right areas. You know, Galway were really good at it. Get Conway and Shane Walsh. They're just, you can see them. They're just slow. And then next thing he comes onto the stronger foot and bang, it's over the bar. So there would be a bit of work, but it is going to take time. You know, the league is hot
Still
and fast.
figuring out,
absolutely,
yeah.
But it will take time. But I'm sure there is a lot of work going on for those, because, you know, you saw yesterday there, like, I felt. And I didn't see the stats around, but possession wise, I would have felt Kildare had a huge amount of possession, but yet went in 5 points down at half time because of those
2-pointers. And they definitely do, with Alex, with Dara, with Ben. Like, if you've that breeze in your back, if you can get the lads that second on the ball, just they're well capable of. There's players there, you know. Well,
just feeding them into that little pocket, and the other side of it is having the conviction. Like, I'm sure it's no different in when you're coaching rugby. You're coaching the lads to, you know, to express themselves and try them. Like, it's very easy to say, well, you shouldn't have kicked that because it didn't go over the bar.
You need to back them,
and
make sure they know that they're
exactly.
If
the kicker thinks it's on, well, then you have to do what you think. It's very easy to say afterwards, oh, well, you know, if he puts it right between the post, you say, no, that was the wrong shot. You know, if a player is, like, if there's a constant thing where a player's missing or taking it up, then you go and have a chat. But for me, coaching is about empowering the players to do what they think is right under pressure, and you're very little safe from the line anyway. You know, so that's the key.
Yeah, so they'll have a final to look forward to anyways against Offaly, and I suppose looking at yesterday, it was good to see Derek Irwin back on the pitch. Like, he's probably worth 8 or 9 points. He just seems strong, fit. Fairness to him, he has everything going. Just as if they can keep him fit.
But that's the thing. Yeah, he needs to keep fit, and but yeah, certainly you could feel that when he came on, there was just things happening all over. And in fairness to Ben, and as like Tony Archibald came on, he brought energy. Paddy McDermott brought energy, and, you know, probably didn't have that as much maybe from the bench against Offaly. So, you know, and in Croke Park, that's going to be huge as well. You know, get lads on that are going to run with or without the ball. You know.
Yeah. And just on that, Antrim and Leitrim relegated. Leitrim finishing up, and I was looking at their points tally -100, so they'll have a lot of work to do. The field of the team this week, wherever the lads came out with the woodwork. But yeah, no joy on the pitch. But yeah, they certainly have a lot of work ahead of them. To head a championship. And just in Division 4, then you're looking at Limerick and Wexford. I think a shout out to James Knockton there. He kicked 4-12 against Waterford. It's
some kicking.
Yeah.
4-12.
Back in my head.
To even get that many shots on is some kicking. I'd say that's a record. I couldn't see anyone else.
Yeah,
kicking that much. But
can't be too far off.
Yeah, and great for Limerick as well. Yeah, they were delighted after. I was looking at the Alliance League Sunday there last night, and they were delighted to be going back up, and then you've Wexford who went through the whole league unbeaten.
Yeah, and they look strong as well.
Yeah, they'll be very happy. A bit of a change then at the weekend. Normally the Division 3 and 4 are the Saturday, but Division 3 final and Division 1 final are on Sunday now. I suppose that with Kildare Hurlers being in the
might make it more incentive for Kildare supporters to go Division 1 final after as well. You know, you're getting 2 quality games. Well, hopefully 2 quality games anyway.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's all good, and plenty of finals to look forward to this week. I suppose we spoke a little bit about transfers last week, and we moved on with the GAA and speaking about it. Rugby, Sean, obviously there's a bit of speculation about Jack Crowley the last few weeks and going to Leicester. What would be the attraction there? Obviously he mightn't have I think it's an unwritten rule, you don't play for Ireland if you've gone abroad, so I suppose that's the big kind of takeaway from going.
Yeah, I suppose probably from Jack's point of view it would be the financial side of it. I'd say I think that's what it would be, reading between the lines. So Munster wouldn't be financially in a great place, I'd say, at the minute. I think that's well documented. So maybe they just don't have enough in the pot to give him what I suppose his value would be. And then you're looking at a Premiership club. They would either look at him as a marquee player, and if they did look at him as a marquee player, you're allowed 2 in your squad. It's unlimited money. So you could look at someone like a Finn Russell who would be on 850 or 900 grand sterling. He's Bats, let's say, a marquee signing with one other. So that's not in the salary cap. That's in the Premiership. Everyone else would be in the salary cap. So you're allowed 2 marquee signings. So if Leicester were going after Jack, I presume he'd be one of their marquee signings of, I heard there was 600k thrown around. Like 600k would be more than the best player in Ireland to be on, in terms of like 500 to 550, maybe a push to 600 when Johnny Sexton was still playing, but 500k to 550 would be the top earner in Ireland. So yeah, it's a lot. If he's on 200 in Munster, for talk's sake, I'm not saying he is. I don't know what Jack is on, or I don't know.
But it is. You have to think of the business side too, and your future, and
well, yeah, it's a lot to turn down. It's 400,000,
and it is a business. Like,
it is a business. Like I would have said all along until I went to London Irish that, you want to be a one club man, obviously,
of course,
and that's what you have in your Jacks at Munster through and through, and I would have been Leinster through and through, but I suppose my hand was forced at that time because I was dealing with a hip injury. I wasn't really going to make the World Cup in 2019. The operation was never done before with someone. So from a business perspective, from an Irish and Leinster perspective, I understood it, even though you're not happy with it.
No, of course, yeah.
Because there's so much emotion attached and there's so much effort that you've put into the last 10 or 12 years. But then from my own personal point of view, I needed to look after me too. So I wasn't going to retire because I felt that I could get back. And then you go somewhere like London Irish and you're still on good money, obviously, for 2.5 seasons. So, and the other thing was it probably broadened my horizons in terms of seeing outside the bubble that you've been in for so long, and learning about yourself. And there's so many positives to come out of it too. There's negatives and positives to everything, but I thought it was a very positive experience, me going away. And I don't think Jack will go, to be honest with you. I don't think he'll go. I think I would hope for Irish rugby and Munster rugby that they're able to hold on to him and keep him and stay, because there's no doubt about he's a quality player. He's a great fella. He could be one of Munster's leaders going forward now especially in the next few years, in that key position of 10. Again, him and Sam will be definitely battling it out, for the 10 jersey for Ireland in the coming months, years, hopefully for the next 10 years.
And is there a risk, Sean, that his Irish career mightn't be the same if he goes?
Well, there is that risk. Like, the only one who's really gone and that's been picked has been Johnny. Like, he is the only one really. I suppose Johnny got, he obviously got a very good contract in Racing. He was involved in a very good team over there, but he just wasn't happy with the deal he was getting in Ireland at the time, and he just said, I'm out here then. But there was probably still he backed himself that there was still nobody as good as him at the time to try and take over. So Ireland were probably in a place where they kind of had to pick him. Where if I would say, like, if someone like Jack goes now, you're looking at it could be a Kieran Frawley, or it could be God only knows. Like, it could be a Jack Murphy up in Ulster that'll come in.
He was in that fight.
Exactly. So there's anyhow half that's within the provinces there at the minute would be the next in line. Then you'd have to try and get someone through, unless they said, right, Jack, you can go and we will pick you. But like, there's no written rule, but there's an unwritten rule.
Probably leaves the door open for
it needs
10 or 11 other lads, Henry.
Like, the great thing about the Irish system is the players are very well looked after in terms of management. Like, you go somewhere like the Premiership or the top 14, you're playing 30 something games a year, and that's what you're playing. You're within the Irish system, you're playing, if you're an international player, you're playing 13, 14.
Yeah, some difference in the body.
Maybe a bit more, like obviously with knockout games and everything else. But like, let's say you play 15 or 16 in the whole season. If you're an Irish international that's playing a good bit, so you're doubling that. So that's a lot on the body as well. So the longevity part of it, when you're in the Irish system, is actually it helps obviously. Now I'm not saying that everyone would be like that, but certain players would, and Jack would be managed pretty well going forward, I would presume, if he stayed in Ireland. And the other thing is Munster need him. Munster need him to stay. Like, Munster have very, very good young players coming through. They have a nice squad there at the minute. They've obviously a new coach coming in. They've great coaches there as it is. And they're starting, like I always say, it'll always go full circle. Like, so they mightn't have had the success that they've liked over the past 10 years, let's say, but they've won the league, not that long ago. So they're not a bad team written overnight, but they need lads like him, obviously, to still be there and driving things and trying to get better, Yeah,
and I suppose maybe he might be able to dangle a carrot a bit that will get a little bit of a better contract maybe in Munster.
Well, that's that's the other thing too, because I remember years ago in 2013 was it, myself and Jamie Heaslip went over to Toulon, and it was actually funny because Toulon said they wanted two teams. They wanted one to compete in the top 14 to win it, and they wanted one to win Europe. Right. So we went over, and I had actually signed a pre-contract with them, because at this time I was on an RFU contract, but they were arsing around with me. And I thought my value was more than what it was, at the time than I was on. So I wanted a better contract. Yeah. And Jamie was roughly the same. So the two of us landed over to Toulon for a weekend. And anyway, so they obviously thought this was just a bit of a ploy, like, but I was genuinely so impressed when I went over there. Anyway, so the following Tuesday, Bougele, the owner, was meant to fly on his private plane to Dublin, and I was meant to meet him at the airport with my agent and sign the contract. But the weather was so bad he couldn't fly. And on Wednesday morning, my agent got a call off the union saying that they're going to give you what you wanted, basically, because they got wind of it. They thought that I was probably bluffing, but I actually wasn't bluffing at the time. But as it so happens, Toulon went on and won 3 Heineken Cups
after that.
Yeah, after that.
And did they do the whole two teams thing? Or
they did, yeah. They signed serious players, to be fair to them. Jamie didn't go either, but they signed. Like, they had Johnny Wilkinson, Matt Gitto, they had Juan Smith, they had Lobe from Argentina. They had like half of South Africans, and a few All Blacks. Like, serious.
That's like, I thought it was like the Roy Keane, like Kenny Dalglish set up there. I thought you were going to say, Roy Keane goes on and Captain United. You want to tell me the big story? They went on and won. You lost out.
Exactly. Were they pissed with you? Or was there any of that kind of?
They were disappointed, yeah. But I was like, I suppose I was kind of starting to come into my prime, and I didn't, deep down I probably wanted to stay. And again, the management part of it, like even though I've had a lot of injuries, I would wonder what it would be like playing 30 something games a year rolled out. But that was the other thing, because they were signing so many lads, they said, we will manage it. You know what I mean? You won't be rolled out every week because it's such good depth and stuff. But anyway, there has been a bit of that over the years. Like, you've seen different players. Even O'Driscoll went over to Perpignan or Stade Francais, I think, one time. And there was never a chance of him going. He was just going over to be seen in the crowd with the flag or with the scarf around his neck.
Just keep everyone under toes.
Yeah, well, sure. Look, it is, at the end of the day, it's a business, and you have to
look after yourself.
Your body's your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The scenario worked out perfectly anyway.
Well, it did, yeah. Worked out great.
Not so bad. Obviously, there's a lot of going away for games. Like, the lads would have been in South Africa. Probably not as much of it in the GA, but you might get it after a game. Maybe lads sneaking out for a pint. Would it ever be with rugby? Obviously, it's professional sport, and maybe it's, lads are there to do a job. Well, GA's got nearly the same now, but would there ever be that kind of scenarios? No. Never get it.
No, never. There'd be no one sneaking out for a drink. It'd be said in the changing room directly after, if they would say, like, I don't want anyone out tonight, and that would just be it. that'd be it. But I could say I could count on one hand or two hands whenever that happened in my whole life. It'd usually be like, if you're going out, just be home at a reasonable hour. Don't stay
Go
out.
mad.
Yeah, don't go mad. Like
in fairness, it's probably, I don't think, if it's before a game, it's probably different in GA that sometimes you might stay after the game, but they'd say, right, no, I'm going out, and then it's more of a danger rather than obviously before a game, everyone's in that mindset.
I've said this before. I think the GA they're doing it arseways because they say you're on a drinking ban or you're drinking ban. Let's say lads go absolute hatchet for the whole night or the whole weekend. It's like it's all or nothing. Where I would, my point would be, like if they are, obviously most lads are looking after themselves so well now in inter-county teams and even senior football teams, but like the 2 or 3 pints isn't going to affect you at all socially. You know what I mean? It's the problem is if you're going out at 10 o'clock and you're coming back in at 5 or 6 next morning, then you're losing your day of recovery and all that crap. But if you're going out after a match at 7 or 8 o'clock and you're back home by 12 or 1, and at least you're getting 7 or 8 hours sleep, and then you're up and you're
recovery again.
You're getting your recovery again. Like, I would say that some teams could be a bit more lenient with teams, as if like, lads, let's have a beer together, and that brings everyone together as well. And it mightn't be going out; it could be back at the hotel, lads. See us in the bar in an hour.
Few beers.
We'll have a few beers, and then we'll get back to our rooms. And go
I don't think it was. I don't think it was a huge thing even when I was playing. That was particularly in my early time, when I would have come in first, you'd be getting the gear straight across the road, the coffees for a pint in the place
after a league game. And
sometimes lads would go up to the Cadian for a bit of grub, sometimes they wouldn't, and no one batted an eye whether you went or not. Where now it's, if there was one person missing now, they'd be saying, oh, he never came back, but it's never a big thing, the whole drink ban. Like, lads now know they're putting in such an effort, they know their bodies. If I certainly would have several times when we wouldn't be going out, but I would have went down to the local, just have 2 or 3 pints after a match to unwind. I wouldn't have known about, and you'd know, especially with my local, the few that'd be in it, that they wouldn't be bothering you if you lost or won. But sometimes I think, especially used to be around Punchestown, there'd be a big crowd out, and if those lads out and it'd be getting close to championship time, and if the championship, it was a stick to beat you with, whether you were having a drink or not. If you were sitting there having
that's the thing. It's where you go as well, isn't it? Like,
it is.
As you were saying, Johnny, like going to your local, like you're a part of the furniture and everything. When you walk in. Where if you're going into the Midland Ace somewhere and into one of the busy spots with same age group and lads that you might be playing against, or you could
be having a glass of water, and you're out. You're out. And then if the sun didn't go well, no wonder you're drinking an Ace all weekend. So there is a bit of that.
I think there was a talk. I think it was Tomas O'Shea talking with Damien Delaney about when he was with Crystal Palace, and they played a Premiership game, and Damien Delaney was going out for a few drinks. And another game. I think that he could have a game midweek, but then he said I think he had 4 or 5, and then that was it, and tip on home. Where Tomas O'Shea was probably saying the Gaelic thing is, well, if you get out, even if you don't want to go out, it's like, well, I'm going anyway. I'm going mad because I mightn't go for another month or two. But it's funny, like even Johnny, you mentioned it at the start, you go across the coffee, it's the professional level of GA has gone through the roof. What lads, like, I think there was one of the lads was telling me a story last year where he was out for a coffee with one of the players, and his alarm went off, and he said, I have to go home and have to eat he had his lunch ready, but he had to eat it at a certain time of the day. Like, I was thinking, this is like
that's look at
I know, but lads, there is lads that
guy's an egot now. Whoever he is, his alarm.
But you can go over the time. Like, at the end of the day, in whatever sport you're playing, if you're comfortable with your own body, you have to be mindful of what you put into it. Absolutely, but within reason, you have to live with it too.
Exactly.
So Jenny, if you're that anal about, like, sure, where's the fun and where's the, and a lot of the time it
consumes your life then, like.
Yeah, it does. But a lot of the time, well, certainly what used to drive me mad was when things weren't going well for me was doing the basics wrong. I was never thinking, I shouldn't have had that extra bit of butter on me, Sammy. So honest.
Yeah, it can, and
you're hard get away on a greyhound, Johnny.
That's what I always say, Johnny.
No, it's certainly gone. And look, I suppose even you probably see it that your promo county setup's gone so professional now. Now you're kind of starting to see it at club, but it's the one thing you don't ever take away from GAA. It's an amateur sport, but it's fun, and it's the fun, and you probably see it in rugby as well. You know, you have to train hard, but you play it because you love it and you want to enjoy yourself and you want to enjoy picking up the gear bag and going training.
But I would imagine, Podge, it's the same thing in whatever sport you play, and you're in a team environment. It really, well, for me, it was, and look, we won feck all, and we had a couple of really good days or whatever, but it was more than just that. It was the dressing room and the crack, and you know, win together, lose together. It was the rows. It was some lad call another lad out. Then you'd have to ring him on the way home, and he might call you. You know, you shouldn't have done that, and then you'd make up, and then it was all that. And it was, for me, it was being bigger than, being part of something bigger than yourself that you can't really replicate in here, you know. And it didn't matter. Like, people talked, even with the club, like, I was lucky enough to play win a senior championship, but I got as big a kick win Division 3 as I did Division 1, because that's where we were at the time. You had a group of lads, you know, struggling, maybe getting a little bit of flack from outside, you know, even in the village, down Allenwood, down Division 3, but you were striving to get out of it, and when you did get out of it, it was a sense of achievement. And so that sort of, for me, is what playing sport is really all about. And when then, you know, when your time is done, you step away and you say, listen, I played the game, I left it in the way I wanted to leave it, in regards to I gave everything I had. And no matter where you go then, when your time is done, you don't really have regrets. There's certain games you have, but could you have given it any more? No. And that, to me, that was what I played it anyway.
Yeah.
And it is funny, I was saying we were up at athletics, Sinead's goddaughter was running athletics and clocked the race. I go for the look, and you walk in and, like, purely it's the GA. She knew everyone up there. Then we're talking about, we used to do the running
the
sprint
up there,
sessions up there. Jeez, I got the shivers when I was walking in through the gates.
I don't remember that much. I was that far ahead of you.
You were the first group. I was in the last group, and my only motto was get out in front, run it, because I wasn't going to be passing anyone out. Everyone passed me out, but it is the beauty of the GA. Like, sure, everywhere you can go, anywhere in the country, and you start talking to someone. And
that's
you
it.
see it all in rugby as well, and
yeah.
It is.
But it's all linked. It's all that's like, sure. Look at every rugby player. Like, they all play GA as well. You know, that's all I love about it as well. You know, when you look at it, I know there's a thing about, you know, schools and, you know, Dublin and all that kind of crack. But, like, they've all played. They're all involved in the football clubs up there too.
They all have their own GA club.
That's where we all started. Like,
yeah.
You know,
would you? Obviously, you've no regrets about the career and a successful career. Would you have loved to, like, had one crack at a year with Carlo and see?
I went back one pre-season and trained with them for the whole pre-season of their pre-season, and I remember the first session. I don't know who was over them at the time. Actually, I forget. I went back anyway, but they were doing, like, a lot of running at the time, and I was way behind them, like way behind them. But the one thing I would remember is all the short stuff, the sprinting and stuff. I was probably the quickest person over 10 metres, like. But that was now when I was properly in my head, like, power just gone, like.
Yeah.
And they're trying to catch me, but then they just, once it gets to 30 metres, they're flying, like. Again, but after 6 weeks, I still remember, after the 6 week block, I remember I was so fit, running fit, but I'd say I dropped about 8 kilos, I'd say.
Yeah, just a different trend altogether.
It's just different. Now, I hadn't anything coming into that season. I had a pre-season to do, obviously, in rugby, so I didn't mind, you know, getting back on the weight, obviously, for the strength part of it. But yeah, it's chalk and cheese. I always said that, football, like, even going back even with the Cox when I was playing rugby and I had a summer off or something, sure, take you 3 or 4 weeks to get up to the running element of it, because it's constant. Where rugby is, well, my game was go hard, and it could be 10 metres of power, back down again, and then you're 30 seconds rest, or you have 40 seconds rest, and bang, you're onto a ball again. You know what I mean? Where the football, you're continuously moving, continuously running, so your anaerobic capacity was completely different. Different.
I remember to give you an idea the difference. I remember going up. You were in Carton House at the time, and you were on a down day. And I went up with McGeaney had organised Johnny and Ron Agaro kicking, so myself and Owen Flaw went up to do a bit of kicking, and it was gas. Like, even we were saying our routine of coming out maybe kicking 50 balls, and the boys would have 50 balls, where they'd come on and be 10 quality shots. They take maybe 2 or 3 minutes between one wouldn't be gone over the bar, I'd be setting another one. You know,
yeah.
But anyway, I was nosing around anyway, and just to one side of the pitch, there was the, for want of a better word, the tent.
Yeah.
The weights were in the weights room when I went in, and Gordon Darcy was in there, so he was probably only coming back from injury, and he was squatting. Jesus Christ. But anyway, he put it back up on the rack, and I went moseyed all over. I was just having a look. And I got myself in under the thing, and I got barely moved. And he was going right down the bar bend. And I thought, Jesus. Like,
Was there
mad.
a story there where the boys training one time? Did you get a bit of gear, stake a bit of gear?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Robbed the gear, did he? Robbed.
No, that wasn't me.
Definitely.
Imagine me, it'd be like, it'd be
Was
well
it
lost.
Flitter or was it Briar?
Would you?
They're not going to get in trouble for it now.
Would get in trouble for that. Would you believe there was in Carton House actually? So this could have been you, John. There was Irish jerseys that were signed, robbed from outside of Rallis Room. That's no messing. Because we had all that floor ourselves. And there was I think there was 5 or 6 jerseys and on the table, and whoever it was, anyway, they took 2 of them.
I don't think they took a side one. I think it was one of the backroom team will say, and one of the lads came in with an Ireland jacket. One of the lads was in bed, and he says, "Where'd you get the jacket?" He says, "I was having a mosey around." And the man threw back the quilt, and he'd full Irish jacket and the shorts and the whole lot.
I don't know who that was.
Invite to the Kildare jail. But probably a bit big on you, alright.
Yeah, wasn't too many of my size Irish rugby.
Jesus Christ.
No, we're nearly there, lads. Well, actually, I tell you what, we'll look at each final. We'll call it. We'll come back next week and we'll see who has a clue and who hasn't a clue.
Well, I tell you, and most people listening out there will tell you haven't a clue after the last couple of years.
I'd have to think Kerry over Mayo. What do you think, Johnny?
I think so too. Yeah,
100%.
Clean sweep on that one. Roscommon and Monaghan.
I go Roscommon.
I think Monaghan. Monaghan will take it.
Monaghan.
2 for Monaghan. Kildare and Offaly.
I think Kildare, cautious vote for Kildare.
Yeah, I think
should be Kildare.
Yeah, I think Kildare, and I think if Derek Irwin starts and is fit, I think Kildare on the handicap, whatever that is. And lastly, then we've Limerick and Wexford.
Yeah, I fancy Wexford to keep an unbeaten Division 4 campaign.
Yeah, Wexford.
Yeah, I think Wexford as well. So there's your accumulator for you, lads, for the weekend. Yeah, no, look, it'll be 4 good finals anyway. As I say, it's the best thing about the league. You get good competitive games, and in Crow Park with the new rules, it'll be interesting to see. You know, that big open pitch, faster game. It'll be hopefully be a good watch, and please God get a few good games, and please God Kildare getting a bit of silverware. No, that's great, lads. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for joining us on All About the Game podcast. We'll be back hopefully next week for week 5. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, lads.